Today we learn something about the operating systems. So, as you already know, the softwares are of two types. First one is system software and another one is application software. So, generally application softwares will be used for the user purpose, say Microsoft Word or Excel or PowerPoint or Access or any other softwares like Tally, etc. But operating system is purely it is used for the system itself. System in the sense laptop, desktop or any electronic devices. Okay. So what this operating system and what all the functions of operating system and what are the managements that the operating system is going to perform. So all these things to be learned in this particular chapter. Okay. So in this thing, so we need to learn the topics like the definition and need for the operating system. Why operating system is needed? So in for the computer, and the next point is the main functions of an operating system. The different functions that involved in operating system management. Okay. Next, the commonly used mechanisms for are process management, memory management, file management, security, command interpretation module. Okay. And some commonly used OS capability enhancement softwares in order to enhance the software means operating system. Okay. And some popular operating systems are going to be listed. So these are the general contents of this particular topic. Most probably this chapter will be taught to you in two parts. Okay. So first we will see the definition and the need for operating system. So definition always says what it is exactly. Operating system is nothing but it is integrated set of programs. And also it is integrated. Integrated means the close relations are there between the different programs. Okay. So which controls the resources like the CPU, memory, IO devices, etc. of the computer system. So we know the computer system is made up of all these things, that is IO devices, memory, that is RAM, and the CPU, central processing unit, and other devices, monitor, printer, etc. So there will be so many other devices, but important resources are the CPU, memory, IO devices. Okay. Say these are nothing but the resources of the computer system. The resources are nothing but the very important part of the system, so which the user can use for his benefit or for his use. Similarly, this operating system, or simply say integrated set of programs, which is nothing but operating system that controls all these resources, means it controls the memory, it controls the CPU, it controls the IO devices, it controls the storage devices, it controls the any other extended or extra devices that has been attached to the computer system. So overall it controls all the resources. So if it is not controlling, if the operating system is not controlling these resources, probably the user will face some problem during his working with the computer. Okay. So next one is it provides its users with an interface or virtual machine that is more convenient to use than the bare machine. Okay. So it gives the best user interface. It may be graphical user interface. So today the OS provides graphical user interface. Shortly you can say GUI, graphical user interface to the user. So using which we can work with menus, toolbars, windows, dialog boxes, icons, etc. Especially icons, windows, toolbars, what I can say menus. So we can work with these parts, these components, so which are very user friendly. So you might have seen so many people are working with some softwares with their laptops or computer without knowing much information regarding the computer. So why it is possible? Because of the operating system provides that kind of user friendly interface for the users or for them. Okay. Two primary objectives of an operating system are, first of all, making a computer system convenient to use. This operating system provides the user interface in such a way that it's very convenient for the user to use. So if you want to copy files, or if you want to open any program or file, or if you want to manage files, or if you want to manage something else in this one, so you can easily jump from one program to another computer. You can easily rename the files, you can easily copy or move the files, easily retrieve the files, easily update the files, etc. So these are all what I can say convenient manners that the operating system provides for the user. Next one is managing the resources of computer system. As I have told, resources are nothing but the CPU, memory, IO devices, storage devices, etc. So the OS manages the resources of the computer system in such a way that so will not feel any uncomfortability while working with the computer. Say simply I will take an example of, okay, so you will select some files to copy or move to any other. So it may be a group of files, say 10 files, 50 files, 500 files, or 5000 files. So if you select those files to be copied, okay, just you select them and say copy, click on copy button, and you go to the destination folder or the drive where you want to paste, you will say paste. So the operating system will take care of all this entire process of the task without disturbing the other operations which is being running. Means at the time when you are working with some other, say you are listening the song something, at the same time you can copy it. So you can do these types of activities. Means managing the resources, means you can manage the memory, you can manage the CPU, IO devices, etc. Okay, suppose say for one more example, if you want to take a printout of some 20 pages of, okay, so you will open the Microsoft Word, and so there your file is there, you will give the printout. So 20 pages printout will be obtained or printed out from the printer using the printer. But at that time you need not to wait for that, because computer manages the resources in such a way that so user will not idle at any time. Okay, so that is the management, different kind of managements which can be included in the operating system. So operating system is the wonderful, and it is called integrated set of programs, and it provides the best user interface through GUI or CU. Okay, next, this is nothing but a logical architecture of a computer system, so in which you can see at the center computer hardware. So computer hardware means monitor, CPU, keyboard, mouse, joystick, whatever it may be. The different parts of hardware parts of computer will be there, or simply you can say it is computer system. Okay, hardware system. So this hardware system will be operated by operating system. So if operating system is not installed in your computer, it may be laptop of course, okay, you cannot work with that. Say for example your cell phone. So if there is no operating system, means Android app, so if there is no operating system, so you will not start that particular device, you can't work with that device. Means the hardware part needs operating system. Why? I will tell. Basically the device or the hardware part or the computer or the your mobile is machine, so it understands only zeros and ones, that means machine language. So you know machine language, assembly language, and high level language. So the computer hardware parts knows only the machine language, machine codes like zeros and ones, isn't it? So but generally the user is working with the high level languages, high level words or symbols we are going to use. So what happens, there is a gap between the language. So what I can say, there is a gap between the languages. We are dealing with the English like words or language, but for the computer understands only zeros and ones. So there is a communication gap. What I can simply say, there is a communication gap between these two. So this operating system works like interface. This operating system works like the interface between the user and the computer. User intend to give the commands in English like words, okay, and it will be translated to machine code, and machine is going to respond in its own way, and those responses basically in terms of machine language will be later converted to our language. So if you press A, if you press A, so A will be displayed on the monitor. If you press X, X will be displayed. If you press percentage sign, so percentage sign only will be displayed, but exactly it will not be happen. Okay, if you press A, A's equivalent ASCII value is going to be feed or inputted to the system. But in the system, operating system, what does it? Converts it. Okay, it converts the ASCII code into A into ASCII code, and similarly for the instruction, so it will convert everything to the machine code, and thus the machine responses, again basically at the first time the machine responses will be in the machine language only, but operating system converts that. So the operating system works like the mediator or interface. So I generally used to give the example. What do you mean by interface? Means interface, middle phase it is. Okay, first phase is computer and second phase is say user. User is on one phase and computer is another phase. In between these two there is another phase, that is operating system. So here operating system works like the interface between these two phases, unknown phases these two. Machine understands only machine language, the user understands better the English like language, but there is a gap between the language. So in order to fulfill or fill that particular gap, or it bridges the gap between the operating system and computer and the user. So the operating system is called, it is user interface. It is user interface. Okay, next, if this operating system is installed in the computer perfectly, then you can go for the system software and application software. So without installing operating system, we cannot move to any system software or application software. So application softwares may be installed and work only after the operating system installation. Okay, next, so in the last round you can see the user. So generally user uses application programs and system softwares, of course. Sometimes you can work with some part of the operating system, but basically our operating system must be there. So you can see here in this particular diagram, computer hardware is surrounded by operating system first. So this is the operating system area or section. So only if it is there, then only you can work with the system software and other things. Okay, the operating system layer hides the details of the hardware from the programmer and provides the programmer with convenient interface for using the system. So with the help of this operating system, the user generally we don't know how it works, how the machine works, because it is going to be hidden. The operating system will take care of all these jobs. Okay, next, main functions of an OS, operating systems main functions. The first one is process management. So I have already told in online, but because of some technical problem it has been so disturbed for me only. So it is how much affected for you, I don't know. So here in the process management, so you can select or pick a word like process. Process is nothing but a task or the program which is being running ಅಂದ್ರೆ ರನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತ ಟಾಸ್ಕ್, ರನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್. So which is being running, the task or the job which is being running is called process. Okay, so process management. So at the same time or at a particular time, the computer can handle n number of processes. So there may be not a single process. I already told, if you just give the command like print, you do not sit back until it completes the printing job. So same moment when you give the command print, you can work with some other throughout your working with the computer. You can play a small audio or video and you can make it minimize. At the same time you can work with different programs, different processes, but the operating system manages all these processes. Okay, so how it does? So there are some algorithms in order to manage these processes. Okay, in the later section of this particular chapter, so we are going to have the detailed study about this process management. So till that So we need to know what is process and what is process management. Okay, so process is nothing but a job or the program or a task which is being running. Next one is memory management. So memory is nothing but a RAM, of course. Memory management, unless the operating system manages the memory, utilizes the memory in best manner, so we cannot use these memories in our need. So for execution of different commands, for working with computer, we need more memory. But most of the time the memory may not be available if you go on working with that. So for time when the particular job is completed, that memory, that program should remove or release from the memory. So only when the particular task is needed, then only that should be stored in the memory or loaded in the memory on completion of the job. So it should be removed from the memory. That program should be removed from the memory, so that free memory will be available. So how much free memories will be available for use, so that speed we can manage with the computer. If there is more speed with computer, we can say the performance is more. Okay, if the computer is going to work with slowly or slow rate, so automatically say it has no such performance, poor performance, like we are seeing, we are so making some comment on the computer itself. So because of that, the operating system manages the memory. In again, memory management will have the different section, how to manage the memory in a better way. Okay, utilization of memory. So there are so many algorithms, there are so many mechanisms in order to manage the memory itself, but OS will definitely will go for applying all those techniques in its, okay, so that it gives the needed or required memory for the user work. Okay, next one is file management. Files and folders, so these will be stored under drives or disk, secondary storage disk. Okay, so in the secondary storage like pen drive or hard disk, so we are going to store the files and folders. The folder will be having different files, of course. These files will be managed by the operating system only. Even though we are creating file, even though we are modifying the file, even though we are renaming the file, even though we are copying the file or moving the file or updating the file, deleting the file, but it will happen with the help of only OS only. So OS will take care of these files right from the beginning, what you can say, creation of file and putting some contents into it, modifying the contents, saving it, okay, copying it, of course, moving it or updating it, or finally deleting it. So these all operations will be controlled by operating system only. So operating system provides us some interface in order to work with the files. Okay, similarly, next one is security. Security of the system, of course, it is not only security of file, security of system. So security system for the computer system is nothing but you can provide some passwords or you can create some users, and according to that, if the user enters with the respective password, means security key, then only the person will be allowed to work with that system. So you can apply the security measures so that only authorized person will be get enter into the system. Similarly, you can apply the security for the folders and files also. Only authorized person will only open and works with that. So in the cell phone also you may have some folder lock something. Okay, so which locks, which secures, which gives the protection to your personal data. So in the mobile at the initial, so you are going to use patterns or fingerprint or the pin numbers, etc. So different types, or face detection. So these are all nothing but the securities. Okay, different kind of securities will be there. Next one is command interpretation. The command interpretation is nothing but as and when the user gives command, like clicking on save button, clicking on save as button, clicking on new, clicking on format, clicking on alignment, clicking on close, or clicking on open, clicking on minimize, or typing some commands. What are the command interpreter? Interpretation means translation. So as the user chooses some commands for his work, so automatically the OS will translate that command into machine language. Say if you click on save button, so user has selected save command, means now we have to save his work. Similarly, if the user clicks on close button, user intends to close the program. So these type of meaningful intentions will be given back to the system with the help of OS. Operating system again will manage and control all these options. Okay. So again there are some other parameters for measuring system performance. As I have told, performance of the system is nothing but how the system responds to our need or requirement. Okay. The first part is throughput. So throughput is nothing but its amount of work that the system is able to do per unit time. So the unit time may be in terms of seconds or milliseconds. Generally in computer, so it is measured in terms of milliseconds. Okay. How much amount of work that the system is able to perform, able to do. So that is nothing but throughput. So depending upon the amount and per unit time, we can decide whether the system is having higher throughput or average or the worst throughput. Okay. So next one is turnaround time. Turnaround time. The interval from the time of submission of a job to the system for processing to the time of completion of the job. Means here there are two stages. The first stage is submission and the second stage is completion. The time delay between the submission and the completion is nothing but the turnaround time. That's called interval. Interval from the submission to completion of the job. So if you want to complete the job, if it is your intention, you need to submit. You need to submit. Submit is nothing but giving something. Okay. If you click on add, it should add the add two numbers. Like if you say submit, it should be stored in somewhere else. If you say format, it should format. If you say save, if you click on save, clicking on save is nothing but giving submission, and the file should be saved. If you copy, it should be copied. If you paste, it should be pasted. So by the time when you click on submission and till it completes the job, so that particular delay is nothing but the turnaround time. Turnaround time. Similarly, different measuring units are there. So here we are taking only 2, 3. Okay. Next one is response time. This is nothing but again it is time interval from the time of submission of a job to the system for processing. We are always giving the submission of job to the system for processing itself. So in order to process any job, you need to submit it. And to the time the first response for the job is produced by the system. It is not the completion. So only the difference between turnaround time and the response time is, in both the cases, the time from the submission is fixed. The starting point is fixed. And for the turnaround time, it is up to completion. But for this response time, it is only up to the first response for the job is produced by the system. So response will be given. So response is nothing but, so whether this task can be completed, whether this task has any error, whether this task has any problem to proceed. So these types of responses will be written back to the user by the help of operating system. So the response time is nothing but a time interval from the submission of a job till we get the first response from the system. Okay. And the process management, in the process management we can say A process, also called job, is a program in execution. I already given this definition in the time I am saying say process management. A process is nothing but a job or a program or a task in execution, which is in execution. The process management manages the processes submit to the system in a manner to minimize the idle time of processor, like CPUs, IO processors, etc. of the system. So how should be management, process management? Process management should be in such a way that so it should have minimized idle time of processors. So we should know there are 2 or 3 kinds of processors will be there: central processing unit and input output processors. Okay, again some other language processors will be there. Okay, whatever the processor we are going to choose for the processing itself, there may be more than one processors to be submitted for the completion of job itself. Okay, no problem. But here the operating system will make the system minimum idle time. What do you mean by minimum idle time means? So there is no gap between. Okay, so I will give always I will use to give the example like corporate world. So in again in your home, there may be your elder sister or brother may be working within corporate area, that is companies. Generally the companies will be having 3 shifts, each shift having 8 hours duration. First shift, second shift and third shift. 8 into 3 is, that is 24 hours. So the corporate world has minimum idle time out of 24 hours. So they have divided the schedule into 3 shifts. Okay, 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours. Some employee will come to the first shift, some may for the second one, some may for the third. But the equipments or the machines in the office or in the company will be fully equipped. So total 24 hours the system will be busy. The only rest is to humankind. So after 8 hours, so automatically the next shift will be only with a few minutes delay, few minutes interval. So totally out of 24 hours, I think 23 hours 55 minutes will be the entire working. So in that management, so you can say there has minimum idle time. Minimum idle time means rest time. So here also in the process management, when the computer is started, so OS manages these processes, n number of processes, in such a way that so a system in a manner to minimize idle time of processes will be enforced. Okay, so I think this is enough for today's class. We will continue this one with the next one. Okay.